name is Abby Sharbach. I am the mentor and training coordinator at the Given Institute. I am so excited to be here today with Yolanda Olson from San Antonio, Texas. She has a great story of conversion and faith to share with us and some advice that she would like to give to her 25-year-old self. Yolanda is a mom of 4 girls and has 6 grandbabies so far. And she got connected with us through Endow. We are thankful to have a partnership with Endow, and Jeanette connected Yolanda to us, and we look forward to having Yolanda as a mentor in our program. So Yolanda, I'm going to turn over the camera to you. I'd love you to tell us a little bit about your journey. It'd be great to hear.
Well, hi, good morning, I think, everyone. I was born and raised in Mexico. And as you probably know, Mexico is predominantly Catholic. So I grew up as a Catholic. I was raised by nuns. I went to school with nuns, and I actually stayed within the Catholic Church all my school years up to university. I went to Jesuit university, but by then I was an atheist. More or less around when I was 16, I began questioning what I saw around me. I thought that there was not honesty, and that people around me, my family, were not congruent with their faith, because they were doing one thing and saying another. And I was very angry. I felt that I was lacking love. And when you feel unloved, you get angry. So I was angry to everybody around me. And so one day I just decided, you know what? If this is Catholic faith, I don't want it. So I just decided to take God out of my life. And I made a conscious decision to not even mention the word God again. I remember one of my friends, because we were kids. I mean, we were 16. And she said, I bet you are not going to be able to not say God again. Because in Mexico, we're used to say God for everything, God willing, if God wants so. If we say God every single second. So she said, you're not going to be able to stop mentioning God for everything. And I said, watch me. Okay, just watch me. So I decided to become an atheist. And that was the worst decision that I have ever made, because from then on, I spent 22 years of my life trying to prove a point. Trying to prove a point to the world, a Catholic world, that being atheist was right. I know that if I had been born now, I would have been just one in plenty. But not in Mexico. I'm not in Mexico, almost 50 years ago? I'm 64. Just do the math. So, yeah, do the math. 50 years ago, Mexico was extremely Catholic. So I was against the normal current of the country, against my family, against everybody. And I did everything within my power to prove that I was right, which meant going into sin, a lot and a lot and a lot more. And when you start sinning, and I didn't see it in those days, what happens is that you break friendship with God. He was always there. I just didn't know it. He was always there. He never abandoned me in spite of everything that I said and that I did. He never abandoned me. He was always there watching over me. But I couldn't see it because I was so deep into my sin and so deep into my betrayal that I couldn't see anything. The worst thing that I did was marry a divorced man. So we couldn't marry in the church, and that broke almost all relationship with my family because it was a huge scandal. If you can think of a 24-year-old young woman marrying a 34 divorced man in Mexico in those years, wow, it was like a huge scandal. But my husband was also an atheist. So at the beginning, I didn't want to have children. But then I had the first one, and I fell in love with her. I mean, she was such a beautiful beautiful girl with huge eyes. So I stopped working to dedicate my life to her. But I couldn't, and I'm telling you this because that's the history of my conversion. I couldn't stop working because my former husband was a very proudful man. So he just lost his job every week. I mean, he got fired constantly. So we had this moment, and I used to work training people. I'm a communicator. That's my career. So I used to train people as an independent trainer while I having my children. But when I had my fourth, I had Monse, and then I had twins, and then I had the baby. And my husband was out of work again. So I had to leave my independent training work. And I remember, and that was the beginning of everything. Well, the beginning of actually was 1 year before that, or two. The twins were babies, little babies, and I was not able to eat because they didn't allow me a second. I breastfeed. I breastfeed 24, I mean, nonstop. So I couldn't eat. So we hired a nanny for one of the twins, so I could sleep, I could eat while the other one was asleep. And the nanny, the first day of the job, she went away with the baby. So I remember, I remember, like, where's my baby? And the nanny was nowhere to be seen. So my husband and we took the car looking for the baby. And I remember going the wrong way in one of the main streets of Guadalajara, which is a humongous city, 9 million people in Guadalajara. So going the wrong way and screaming. And I remember praying. That was the first time that I prayed. I mean, I just started praying and telling God, please give me my child back. And I promise I'm going to marry in the church. And I'm going to come back to the church. I promise you this. Just give me my baby back. And the baby was back. She was under a tree with the nanny.
Left?
No, she was with the nanny under a tree. So the baby was back. And I remember telling my husband, okay, you know what? I promise this to God, and I want you to get an annulment, because it was possible. I mean, there were grounds for annulment. Please give me this. I want to get married in the church. I promise this to God. And he said, no. If you don't want to live with me like this, you're free to go. And in those days, I loved him so much, or I thought that I loved him so much that I couldn't think of life without him. So I stayed, but I was broken inside. Anyway, I kept living as an atheist because now I had to do that. I mean, so I remember when he lost his last job, and I was just, my baby, my Bertaluz, was only 4 months old, so I was full breastfeeding. So I remember trying to find something to do because we were starving. I mean, my mother used to bring food and take the bills out, but my maid, I mean, she was just living with us without being paid. So one day, I went to visit a friend of mine, and I remember challenging God, a God that I not think of in 2 years. And I remember telling him, hey, if you exist, you know what I need. So give me something that I can do without leaving my babies. I was not going to leave my children to go back into the corporate world. Yeah. So in that exact moment, because God is that way. I mean, he's so powerful and so loving, and he answers prayers. In that moment, I got to my friend's house, and there was this lady who sold Mary Kay. That's a cosmetic brand. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I've never sold anything, and I hate selling. But I remember stepping down from my car and thinking, okay, you work fast. So I went to her and I said, hey, are you still with Mary Kay? And she said, yes, why? I want to join. So that began an amazing story. I worked for Mary Kay for 30 years. And the 20 years that I was in my country, in Mexico, were incredibly successful. I was among the top 3 directors in the company for years.
Wow.
Yeah, I was amazingly successful in spite of not liking to sell. at all. I hate selling. I'm too shy. I'm a shy person. But anyway, I needed to work, and that's what got put into my path. But I was still an atheist. And Mary Kay was an extremely Christian woman. She was not Catholic, but she was Christian. So in every event that I went to, everybody prayed. And I thought, I hate these people. Why are they doing this? I mean, what's going on with these people? Is this a cult or something? But I needed the money, and I was succeeding. I was succeeding immensely. I became a director in less than a year. I became a top director in 2 more years. I had one of the first, I think it was the 5th pink car delivered in Mexico. That was mine. So I was really successful.
Yeah.
So I needed the money. I stayed there.
Yeah.
But I was like shocking with the culture, because I didn't pray and I didn't do the crazy stuff that all the other directors did. But anyway, I was there. So years after the fact, I was coming into my 22nd year of atheist. Through Mary Kay, I got my conversion. So I will always be grateful to Mary Kay, the company, for giving me the opportunity to obviously put food on the table. But most important than anything, because through Mary Kay, I was converted. My former husband decided to move to the States because he lost his job again. And I was so powerful that he said, I think you can support the family without me. And I said, oh yeah, I'm Superwoman. I can do anything. So he left, and I got into deep depression because remember how connected I was with him. So I was so depressed that I couldn't work my Mary Kay business. And I started losing my profit. I got to a point that I thought I couldn't support my family anymore. And I was in an executive, I was an executive director, one of the first.
Yep.
So I was in an executive meeting, and there was this director. I'm telling you the story because I love it, because you can see God's grace. This director was not an executive. She was invited to the executive meeting for God reasons. Nothing. She was never an executive. I think she left Mary Kay after the fact, but she was there because God wanted her to be there. So everybody got their checks, and everybody broke records, and they were so happy. And I just saw my check, and I thought, my gosh. So I started crying. And then Mary Kay took us to visit the town, and it was a beautiful town because Mexico is amazing, and it's full of churches. So we started visiting churches, and then in a convent, I just hid to cry because I couldn't think. I was just thinking, what am I going to do? I mean, I'm not going to have enough money to feed my family. My kids were all in private schools. So how am I going to be able to pay for schools? I was so stressed and just cried and cried and cried. And then this director came and hugged me, and she said, Jesus loves you and Mary loves you. And I said, no, they don't love me because I rejected them 22 years ago. So there's no way that Jesus loves me. And she said, no, he loves you. I was not denying God anymore. I was just saying, there's no way that he loves me because I have done everything to reject him for such a long time. We just kept talking. And at the end of that visit, we ended in a church, a beautiful church. I don't even know which church it was. I just remember it was beautiful. So I just went to the front of the altar. I knelt and I told Jesus, I give up. I'm done fighting you. I mean, I'm done fighting you. You take control of my life. Whatever you want to do with it, it's yours. I give it back. I can't deal with it anymore. Just whatever you want to do, I'm done. So I went back home, and the moment I got home, there was this cousin of mine, and she had a statue of the Blessed Mother. She knew I was an atheist. She was not giving the statue to me. And she wanted to talk to my mom, who was there. So she said, how was your trip? Great, I converted. so she said, oh, great, then let me leave this image to you, pray the rosary, and you have to go to confession. So I'm going to set an appointment for you with this priest, and you have to go to confession. So I did. So I went to confession, and you know how confession goes when you confess 22 years of atheism. I'm sure you don't know, but it was like, wow. And of course, the priest said you cannot live as a husband and wife with your husband unless you get unless you're married in the church. So it was Christmas time. That happened. My conversion happened on December the 5th. So if I live until the end of this year, because only God knows, this is going to be our 25th anniversary. Yes, it's going to be wonderful. 25 years with Jesus. I mean, and that's part of the story. So I waited for my former husband to come home, and it was Christmas time. So we spent the whole night talking, and I told him, hey, guess what? I'm converted. So there's not going to be any more marital life between you and me unless you proceed with that annulment and we're getting married in the church. He got mad. And he said that I love God more than him. And I said, yes, actually do. For the first time in my life, I can tell you yes. Okay, yes. I love God more than what I love you. So what are you going to do? So that was a fight for the following 4 years, and we got divorced. So it was okay. I was taking care of my family. I mean, it was the same for me. And after the divorce, that took 4 years, 5 years after the fact, I met John. And John Olson, that's why my last name is Olson. He was never married, devoted Catholic. So we met, we fell in love, and we married in the church in Guadalajara. He wanted me to be in white, and I said, I cannot be in white. I'm the mother of 4. So we got a yellowish, kind of whitish dress. My father at last got the gift to take me to the altar. I was 48. Can you believe that? And my mother and all my family, and I don't even remember a thing. I know that my father made everybody cry in church, but it was just the beginning of a wonderful life. I mean, we were so devoted. And that takes me to what can be interesting to young people, because you said, what can you asked me, what will you tell young people, young Yolanda? I would say, come back sooner. If you leave the church, come back sooner. Don't stay away for such a long time, because Jesus is calling you and he wants you closer, and he's going to give you a wonderful life. So we spent 11 years married in a holy, wonderful marriage, serving God. And then John died. When Jesus and I were like now coming into our 20th anniversary, I started asking him, Lord, what are you going to give me? And he was going to be your gift for me, because we're going to be 20 years now, you and me. So what's going to be your gift? I never imagined that his gift would be the passing of John. John was bipolar, so he suffered depression. And when we traveled, and we used to travel, he was so happy that he didn't want to stop traveling. So we had been away. We went to see my baby, and John was so happy. And he said, wow, I wish we never go back. And I said, honey, we have to come back. So we had this talk like, sweetie, you really need, because he was retired. So I told him, honey, you need to stop working harder for the church. I mean, you need to find happiness here. So he said, okay. So we had this big heart-to-heart. And on Monday, we just came back from the trip. So the picture was, we were madly in love, wonderful pictures, Facebook pictures on a trip. And the 3 days after, we came back on a Saturday. So on Monday, we had this talk. And he said, yes, I'm going to do that. So I was so happy. Tuesday morning, we woke up and we were serving. We are Eucharistic ministers. So we took we were going to be taking Holy Communion to the nursing home. And he being American, he was always ready before I did. So he said, I'm going to church. I'm going to save you a seat. I said, okay, honey, go. And I was always late. Being Mexican, I was always late. So when the moment I got to church, everybody was out. So I thought, what's going on? And they said, John fainted. So I said, what? So I went into the chapel, and he was in the floor. Monsignor was going crazy. Every lady was trying to give him
CPR.
To bring him back. And I said, what's going on? Monsignor was going crazy. And they were calling 911. 911 was not there. So Monsignor brought the ointment of the sick, and he gave the holy ointment in that moment to him. And then 911 at last arrived. They took him to the hospital, and they didn't know what happened. The doctor said, there's blood in his brain. We don't know if that was for the fall, because he fell and broke all his face. I wasn't there, I didn't witness that, but everybody told me that he just fell. The moment Monsignor kissed the altar, the mass had not started yet. The moment Monsignor kissed the altar, John just fell to the ground. He was standing, and so he just fell. So his face was broken. All his bones were broken. So the doctor couldn't tell me if what had happened. I was just praying. My son-in-law was there because my baby just had her 5th baby. So my son-in-law was with me, and all the parish. I mean, Monsignor was there. All the parish, both communities, Hispanic and Anglo, both communities were praying for us. They were in shock. I mean, it happened in front of all the community in mass. So he had a second aneurysm at 1. The doctor at last came, neurologist, and he said all his brain is gone. Half his brain is gone. So I can intervene on him, but he's not going to survive. He's brain dead. And Monsignor said, you have to let him go. The sooner you let him go, the sooner he's going to get to heaven. And by the way, what I didn't tell you is that the day before, on Monday, I had spent the holiest rosary of my life, asking Mother Mary, please make my husband happy. Please make my husband happy. That's all I'm asking you. Every Hail Mary, my prayer was, make my husband happy. Make my husband happy. All I want is for him to be happy. So when I came back home on that Monday, and he said he was going to do everything, I thought, thank you, Mother Mary. And then the following day, she made him happy. I mean, he went in the most beautiful and peaceful way. I had never seen anybody die before. Both my parents died in Mexico. I didn't see them die. But he died so beautifully. When they took the ventilator out, I was warned that he may have convulsions. He didn't. His heart went slower, his breathing went slower, and he just passed in the most beautiful and peaceful way. I mean, Monsignor said that the ointment of the sick worked because John confessed every 2 weeks. And Monsignor said, no, it's okay. I gave him the ointment of the sick. He's going to go straight to heaven. Don't delay that meal that he's going to have with Jesus, because he was so humble that Jesus loves humble people. So that's how I let him go. And it was terrible. I mean, for me, I woke up the following day feeling like if somebody had taken the rug out of my feet, because by then my business was gone. When I moved to this country, I lost my business. So I relied on John. He was the provider. So I woke up on November 16 as a poor widow. So a poor widow. I lost the love of my life, and I lost my financial support. Yeah. So I thought, okay, what are you going to do with me, Lord? That's not the kind of gift that I was thinking when I was asking you for a gift. And I told Mother Mary, I wanted you to make him happy, but not so happy. I mean, you overdid yourself. That was
happy
too
here
much.
On earth with me.
Yes, yes, I wanted him relatively happy, not so deeply happy. So it was a struggle. But you know what? I never, ever, I was so scared. How am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to eat? How am I going to do everything? I was so scared because we didn't have any financial support. I mean, John was single. He never thought of, just keeping money in the bank. He was single before he met me, so he didn't think of that.
Right.
And everything, he was a provider, so nothing from anywhere. But you know what? Jesus provided. This is going to be the 5th year in November 16. So it's been 4 years and months. Every single, I'm even fat. Look at me. I'm even fat. I haven't lacked anything. The mortgage has been paid. There's food on the table. There's clothes. I have clothing. I have everything just from the grace of God. I think that the true gift, I received November 15 of 2016. We both received gifts. John, he went to heaven. I know it. This is, I shouldn't say this, but I know he's in heaven. So he couldn't be happier. Mother Mary really gave me the biggest gift because that's what I asked for. I asked for his happiness and he got that. So he's happy. He's well, I'm looking at, his picture is right there. So he's happy. I know he's happy. And God gave me a true gift. I'm afraid now of asking of my 25th anniversary gift. I don't want anything, and you do something. I don't want anything from you. But he really gave me an amazing gift because he made me at last understand what I asked for in my conversion. I asked for him to take charge of my life, but I kept in charge of it. I was successful. And although I started struggling with the vanity involved in a beauty business, I don't even wear makeup anymore. I don't look at all the way I used to look, if you can imagine. So being in a vanity business, I struggled with that. I struggled with all the praises of the world. I struggled with all that. But although I struggled with it, I kept going on. I needed to support my family. I kept going until John came into my life and he took care of everything. But then I depended on him. I was always depending on something. For 20-something years where I was really strong with Mary Kay, I thought I was a superwoman. I thought I was powerful and that it was in my power to support my family, that it was in my power to do everything amazing in this world. And then I began to depend on John, and it was beautiful. It was really reaching out to that feminine part that I didn't see, because I thought that women had to be independent, strong, and powerful. And guess what? Being a wife and being tenderly loved by someone, that was something that I really needed because I never had it. And it's beautiful to have a loving husband, to have a provider, to have a protector, to have somebody who doesn't want that even the wind hits you, because he loves you so much that he wants to protect you from everything. Oh,
what a beautiful husband.
I miss him. I miss him so much. He was wonderful. So
and he
that part
still is. He still is.
Oh yes, I know he's waiting for me.
Yeah,
he's waiting for me. I know that.
Yes.
But I switched from thinking that I could do anything to being protected and provided and cared for, which is amazing. And I'm so happy for anybody who has that. I'm a real true advocate of marriage. Please take care of your husband. Don't fight with him. You have to be crazy if you don't appreciate your husband. You women out there, I mean, appreciate your husbands. Men are awesome. True men. I mean, true men are amazing, and they're our other half. That's why God made us male and female. I mean, that's the way the world works. That's the way God wants love in our life. Well, anyway, so I think that what happened now that I'm a widow and I rely 100% on the providence. Now I know that God is the one who gave me John, and John was not mine. He was his. So the moment I ask for his happiness, that's true happiness. And none of my children are mine. They are his. And if God decides that he wants to take any of them, they are not mine, they are his. And he has provided me with a home, but it's not my home, it is his. I don't own anything. That's the beauty of these last 4 years and months. The beauty of this is realizing that I don't own anything at all. Everything that I am, everything that I have is not really mine, it's God's. And he is the owner of everything. And all I have to do is just be a steward of everything that he gives me and give it back. So that is why when Janet said, would you like to work for this? I said, yes. All I have in my hands is the time that God gives me to give it back with whatever he wants to give to others. And if he wants to use me, I'm here. So that's it. I told you I was going to cry.
Wonderful. Yolanda, thank you so much for opening up your heart and sharing with us the wisdom of your many years and your experiences. And I think there are so many different things that we could probably talk for about 2 more hours, right? Just exploring some of these different themes that you've brought up, these threads from, the 22 years that you were an atheist and now almost 25 years that you've been walking with Jesus, and even the journey, the progress that you made in your relationship with Jesus over those 25 years, and how God has carried you and God has made you more into who he's called you to be, and how through all these experiences and these sufferings in your life, he's made you more holy, made you more like him, so that you're saying, God, everything I have is yours. Everything you've given me is yours. And I just give it back to you. Do with me as you will. And I think that you highlighted well how much we say that with our lives, but we don't really mean it. We don't even know what it means, until some of these other things come about in our way. And I think that's why the scriptures enjoin us, tell us, listen to your elders, because there are some things you just can only learn by doing them, by walking through the fire, by being refined, by giving up, like being so, we could even just talk about your career and the business that you built and how you realized how you were relying on that. You were relying on that, and God helped you to see, no, I have this other way, and how he has provided you gently. He's led you gently along that path. He didn't say when you were 25, okay, now rely only on me. Of course, yes, right? But he was gentle with you and led you on this path. Probably didn't always feel gentle, but he was gentle with you and led you on this path and brought you closer and closer to his bosom. And when it's your turn to go and be embraced by the Father, you'll already be there. Yeah, it's a really beautiful story. So thank you so much, Yolanda, for opening up to us. And I know that your story can and will impact the lives of so many, just for your openness and sharing it. God be praised.
God be praised. God be praised, definitely.